Is Caliban a good Warframe? Yeah, I would say that he is. Is he overpowered though? No, he's definitely not overpowered. I would say that Caliban is a reasonably well-balanced, general-purpose Warframe with strong fashion frame potential. He is, in my opinion, and I think many other people's opinion, Warframe's second sentient Warframe, the first one being Revenant, who is based around Eidolons. However, you could say that Caliban is more of a purist form of sentient, like he's more mainline sentient. He clearly looks more like a conculist. He summons conculists. When Revenant came out, shortly afterwards, he received a series of buffs, and it pushed him well into overpowered territory. Now, I am definitely a member of this portion of the Warframe player base, the ones that believe that too much power creep is detrimental to the fun of the game, that want the game to be more challenging. However, when I saw the buffs to Revenant and I saw him becoming overpowered, I was okay with it, because he was the first sentient Warframe. It made sense for him to be overpowered, and I was completely fine with that. So Revenant is on a whole nother power level that Caliban is not on. Revenant can become completely immortal, basically, and I'm pretty sure his third ability does percentage-based HP damage to enemies, so with enough power strength, you can literally one-shot or two-shot almost anything in the game. So yeah, one of the other things that Revenant and Caliban have in common is that they both have a spinny damage dealing ability. For Revenant, it's his fourth ability, and for Caliban, it's his first ability. And both of these abilities are kind of weak. They're also similar to Inaros' Sandstorm ability, which is also considered a weak ability. These abilities are weak because the damage that they do falls off on higher levels. There's no percentage-based HP damage happening here. It's just like flat damage that scales with power strength. You can only get so much power strength, and it will carry you through regular star charts, so this is good for new players. But if you have a Kuva New Core or an Ogress or a Tenet Detron or anything like that, you will kill things so much faster, especially if you've got Prime mods and the things all form into hell. These abilities pale in comparison to the amount of damage you can do with weapons. But that's okay. It's all right to have a weak ability on a Warframe because the helmet system exists. You can replace it. Personally, I replaced Caliban's first ability with Zaku's first ability, which gives me void damage on my weapons, and it allows me to do even more damage with the weapons, and it also is thematically kind of cool. Now I'm playing a sentient Warframe that deals void damage, and it's really good at killing sentient enemies. I've equipped him with the Basmu. I've leaned, as with most of my builds in Warframe, I've leaned into more of like a fashionable theme using the Basmu. Got a Riven for it. Got a Riven for the War. The War is a very apt melee weapon. It's fine. It gets through content perfectly fine. I'm happy with it. So let's get into some criticisms on Caliban. So we obviously know his first ability sucks, and that's completely okay. I don't think anything really needs to change with it. Maybe they can release an augment for it that will make it do something a little bit more interesting for higher level content, but I think it's fine. The second ability lifts enemies in the air and applies a vulnerability to them so they take more damage. This ability is one of the more interesting ones. It also is subsumable to the helmet, and I think that's actually really cool. Obviously, Digital Extremes is trying to make lifting enemies a thing.
Stop trying to make lift happen. It's not going to happen.
One of the cool things about lifting enemies in the air is that this can synergize with the Saxum mod set, or you can get an Arcane for a Zaw where you get 200% more combo count chance on lifted enemies. I tried the Saxum mod set. It makes lifted enemies explode on death, dealing 30% of their HP as impact damage to all enemies within a 12-meter radius. And I was kind of the results didn't seem all that great to me, to be honest. It's not that practical, and using the Basmu on lifted enemies, quite often they just fall down to the ground and stand back up again, and I don't know if they count as being lifted anymore. I don't think they do. One of the other issues with the second ability is it lacks visual clarity. The enemies, if they fall to the ground and stand back up again, will still be taking amplified damage from the damage vulnerability, but you cannot visually tell other than just reading the damage numbers or looking down on the bottom right of your screen and seeing that there's still a timer on it. But you can only affect so many enemies, and some enemies that are standing next to you might not be affected by it, so it's visually unclear. And I've already posted my feedback on the Warframe forums on this, and hopefully the devs do something about it, but who knows. But yeah, I don't know. It's okay. It's a pretty good crowd control ability. Lifting enemies is pretty inconsistent. They think there needs to be some stuff done to make it better. I don't know what they would do to make it better. But one thing's for sure, it could be more visually clear when the enemies are still being affected by it and are still taking amplified damage. All right, moving on to his third ability, which summons the Conculist. Holy shit, I'm sick of hearing this sound. Again and again and again, every 30 seconds with Prime continuity, these things will be despawning, and it's just a sharp, jarring caw 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 sound. And I played a lot of Revenant for a couple of days, and I had that sound playing in my ears when I went to bed at night, because every 30 seconds you summon them again, and they're an important part to staying alive. In terms of the actual stats on these things and the skill itself and the mechanics of it, I think it's fine. Maybe a little more duration, but it's all right. It's really not that bad. Terribulos pointed out that why would you want to summon only one at a time? Maybe to save on energy, because it's like 50 energy each. I think that I think it's fine in terms of how much energy it costs and having to summon 3 of them to get the full effect. But what could be making us better is holding down the number 3 button, or whatever the button it is for you if you're on console, and summoning all 3 at the same time, and having a different sound effect if you were to do it that way. Because having that loud play every 30 seconds in a long run, if you do something like a 1-hour survival run, for example, 30 seconds over, and summoning them 3 times every 30 seconds over the course of 60 minutes, that's like 120 times 3, that's like 360 instances of that over the course of an hour. And I don't know how many I've played in this video so far, but it's nowhere near 360. Can you imagine how grating on the ears it would be to hear that many times? Please, Digital Extremes, yeah, implement something where you hold the button down and you summon all 3 at once, and then you get something that's just a little less jarring on the ears. That's my feedback for DE on this one. Other than that, the ability is great. I think it's fine. And I don't think it should be buffed too much, because if it's buffed too much, it's going to make Atlas's 4th ability, which is his ultimate, completely obsolete. And I'm against power creep in the game. I think it's good to have things balanced. Okay, so Caliban's 4th ability, it's perfectly fine. You already know this. If you've seen any videos on Caliban, it's a great ability. It strips all the armor and shields off enemies. It does a large amount of AoE damage. It has a lingering, permanent armor strip. It's just really strong. That ability alone is enough reason to play Caliban on any content, like all the way up into the highest level enemies on Steel Path. It's just a great ability. And that's it. That's Caliban. Again, as I said in the beginning, Caliban is a reasonably well-balanced general purpose Warframe with strong fashion frame potential. And I'm primarily playing him for the fashion frame. I don't think he fills any particular niche role where you would need to have him, unless you needed him for his armor stripping. But you do need to have a lot of power strength. You need 200% power strength to do that, which is quite a lot. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.